today's video, I'm going to be showing you another press-on set, and this one is my favorite, I think, of the press-on sets that I created for this holiday season, and this is a snowman, and it's also got some sweater texture on two of the nails, and then some really pretty layered textured snowflakes. And I just love this whole design. I think it is just so pretty and so elegant, but not necessarily like overly Christmassy, so it could be worn, you know, no matter what your religion, or even after Christmas if you want to wear it in January or February. Absolutely no problems there. So I hope you love it as much as I do, and don't forget to check my online store because I do have links to all the press-ons that I've made in there, as well as this is made with some Madam Glam stuff. So there's a lot happening in this video. I hope you love it. I am so impressed by this design. I just think it is so gorgeous, and I will see you next time. Bye!
So I'm going to start with Madam Glam's Haunt Me, which is one of my absolute favorite colors from them. It is just such a pretty berry color, and this one is in the advent calendar, and that's on the thumb and the ring nail. So I've got first coat of that, and then the next color I'm going to be using is called Upper East Side, which is, on the line it says it's like a blue-gray. I think it's pretty much just a gray, but it does have ever so slightly kind of a blue hue to it, and then the Manhattan on the middle nail. After I've got the first coat cured, I'm going to go ahead and do a second coat on all of those to make sure that they are nice and opaque. The color of the Manhattan isn't going to get opaque. It's one that has some sheerness to it, which is part of its charm. But a second coat really does sort of create a little bit of a masking quality, so that if there's anything funky happening on the natural nail underneath, you're not going to see it. And then on that middle nail, we're going to be painting our snowman with perfect white. So I'm going to have the body and then kind of fill in the tip with the rest of that color, like within the body, so that he's not that three ball shape. He's a little more rounded on the middle. And I'm going to give him some arms and a little bit more detail than I normally would, and give the start of the hat. And then going back to my color Haunt Me, I'm going to be adding my snowman's hat. So this color is going to be pretty much all of my snowman's winter gear. So I've got the start of the hat, and then I'm also going to go in with the scarf going around the neck. And because I wanted to give this snowman, like I said, a little bit more detail, I'm also going to give my snowman little mittens that are hanging around a string around the neck, so he won't lose them, of course. So there's the first mitten, and here's going to be the second mitten, and then the little tail to, or the knot, I suppose, and the tail to my scarf. So now I'm going to lighten the colors Haunt Me and the color Upper East Side with Perfect White, and just kind of mix it so I have some different shades to play around with. And doing this, you really kind of expand your options for detailing and shading and highlighting just by giving you this little mix of colors that you can use. So now with that new lighter gray, I'm going to begin doing all of the shading on my little snowman. So I'm going to start by kind of filling in wherever I think it's going to be needed. And one thing that I really like to do when I'm adding the shading is, and it's really good with a ball shape like a snowman, is if you imagine that you're holding onto a ball, 50% of that ball is going to be shaded and 50% of it is going to be highlighted. And obviously there's some different levels within that, but if you're thinking of a very, intense light source, one side and then the other side. And then with that knowledge, you can go through and figure out where all your highlights and all your shading can be. And it's a process, and it takes some pretty serious practice to get all of that shading knowledge done and in place. But once you have it, it's like riding a bike, and you can always just go back to imagining your light source and getting your shading down. So now that we have that done, you can flash cure whenever you want with this. So flash cure when you need to, or do a full cure whenever, like every 2-3 times after you flash cure. I like to do just a full cure to really set everything in place. But I'm going to use my new lighter pink color with my Haunt Me mix, and I'm going to be doing some highlighting on my hat and my scarf and my mittens. So just use that color. And it's the same thing, you just need to add all of those highlights. So wherever you did the shading on your snowman with the gray, you need to go to the opposite side of your hat, scarf, mittens to do the highlights. So if you shaded, the left with the gray, you need to highlight the right with your pink. Hope that makes sense. I hope I am trying to get as much of that kind of idea across. And the really great thing with Madam Glam's gel polishes is that they blend in so nicely, and for the most part, there's such a creamy consistency that they do little painting designs like this with ease comparatively to some. And they also don't move around that much. There's some, I don't want to name names, but there's some really popular brands and really like namey brands out there that you try to paint with them, and they like go all over the place, and they run, and they they bleed and it's just a disaster, but Madame Glams are good. So now using the color Perfect Orange, I'm going to be adding our little snowman's nose, and then using a lighter version of that Perfect Orange, which same thing, I just added a little bit of white to it. I'm going to be highlighting our carrot. And then after you've got all of that done, we get to begin doing all of the outlines with Perfect Black. So using the tiniest brush in your collection, we're going to be doing all of these little tiny details. I'm going to start with the carrot, and just to take it one step farther, I did make little lines going across my carrot to make it look like there's a little bit of a kind of an indenty carroty texture on the carrot. And then I'm going to do all my outlines around. And with these outlines, I wasn't as strict with myself as I sometimes am with getting, all the outlines to every single place. If there's a little gap here and there in the outlines, I actually really like the way it looks with a snowman. So whenever I think of a snowman and painting a snowman, I always imagine Christmas cards. And there's always like this cheery feeling with a Christmas card. And I know I said that this design isn't necessarily Christmassy, but like a holiday greeting card, it always get kind of this like soft, snowflakey, happy vibes off of a snowman that's on a holiday greeting card. So that's kind of what I always think of when I want to paint one is, would this look like it would go on a greeting card? And so these really soft kind of quick outlines, I feel like lend themselves toward that watercolor greeting card look. And don't forget to add the strings that are holding your mittens in place, because that is a key part of what makes the mittens make sense, is that they have that string that goes around our snowman's neck. Don't forget to add your smile. I decided to go with a little line for a smile versus doing a coal polka dot smile. And then with the Perfect Black, I'm going to be adding our snowman's eyes too, with the slightly bigger lines. And then I took a little bit of my light pink color that I mixed with Haunt Me, and I'm going to be adding a slightly pink hue on my snowman's cheeks. I know I personally always turn bright pink when I'm in the cold for any amount of time, so I figured the snowman should too. So now on the nails, I'm going to be applying some no wipe top coat on the two colors that have the upper east side on them. So that's the index and the pinkie. And then on the other three nails, on thumb, middle, and ring, I'm going to be applying Madame Glam's Velvet, which is a no wipe matte top coat, and just a fairly thin coat of that so that it just makes everything look nice and smooth. And then after those are cured, I'm going to be burnishing a purple to blue duochrome powder into the index and the pinky nails, so into that no wipe top coat. Make sure you only cure Madame Glam's no wipe top coat for 30 seconds if you're going to be doing a chrome powder, because if it goes any farther than that 30 seconds, it isn't going to grab the powder very well. And even sometimes if I want to just make sure, I only do like 25 seconds. So just keep that in mind. But then after you have that, apply the Velvet matte top coat over those two as well, so that all of your nails at this point should be matte. Now going back to my Perfect White, I'm going to be doing a single snowflake on each of those index and pinky nails so that I can do different effects with them. So this first one, we're going to just be painting a start of the 6 lines and then make a little hexagon across the middle of the snowflake by connecting the dots. So I always like to think of making snowflakes as connecting the dots. And then after you have that, I'm going to do 2 little prongs off of each of my first 6 lines that are nice and skinny. So the great thing with having a teeny tiny brush is that you can play around with line thickness with how much paint is on it, or, gel polish in this case. And so if you have a tiny brush, you can get some really skinny lines if you have just a small amount of gel polish on there. And then scoop some clear acrylic powder over the nail so that it saturates and completely kind of like dries out that white gel polish. And now after you have one of those done on each of those 2 nails, we're going to be doing a second snowflake. Same kind of idea, but instead of doing some clear powder, you'll see in a moment, but we're going to be using some glitter instead. So we have a matte powdery looking snowflake and then a glittery snowflake. For the second one, do a different pattern than your first one. Don't make both your snowflakes mirror images of each other. You want them to be a little bit varied and have fun with it. There's so many different patterns that you can do with snowflakes, and you can kind of, switch it up a little bit. So some of them can look almost a little bit more swirly than others. Some of them can be really, filled in with lines or really delicate looking. You can just switch it up. So then after you have your glitter sprinkled on and cured, you can remove the extra powder and the extra glitter with a brush. And now on the ring and thumbnails to finish off this set, we're going to be doing a sweater pattern. So using the color Haunt Me, we're going to be going over it with our pattern. And on the ring nail, I started out by doing a diamond kind of crisscrossy thing going across the entire nail with just those lines, trying to get them as straight and as parallel to each other as possible. The one good thing about painting a sweater pattern is it's not as obvious if you make a mistake or, what to you is a mistake, because once you apply the powder, it's not as obvious. And even unless somebody is really, really studying this nail and they like look and they have a monocle out and they're really staring at it, they're never going to see little mishaps because the powder on it, it's a texture thing instead of being like a visual line work. And so it's not that big a deal. So if you're somebody that, isn't as confident with your line work, then a sweater nail might be a really great way to practice without feeling like it's a problem if one of your lines goes a little haywire. So then on the thumb, I'm going to do a slightly more classic sweater pattern, starting out with 2 vertical lines and then making that little S-shaped line down the middle, and then little interlocking V's on the sides. Those little interlocking V's are one of my favorite ways to do a sweater pattern because it really looks like knit to me. Looks like cable knit patterns. And then do the same thing, sprinkle it with your clear acrylic powder. Make sure that all of the gel polish doesn't get completely like shiny again. It goes all the way to matte before you cure. And then brush off the extra powder and extra glitter if there's any glitter that's still on the other nails. And then that's it. I love these so much. If you do decide to place an order, I do have a video in the description box below that kind of goes over the basics of, sizing your nails and how to order press-ons from me versus, somewhere else everybody has different rules. So yeah, I hope that helps, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.